Let's talk crochet. Hey folks, it's Mary, aka MercyTriumphs, and this is Slow Crochet. This is episode 096, and I'm here to talk about everything that I've been crocheting, everything I've been doing in yarn this week. So before I go even further, I'm just going to let you know I have one finish. I have two little works in progress, and I do have a little bit of a yarn haul from Joann. So let me go ahead and start with the finish, and that is my wrap sweater. This was nearly done last week, and I was so determined, if nothing else, that I was going to get this done. And so here it is. This is made out of two colors of Scarfy yarn, and I used a J hook, a 6.0 millimeter hook. I did actually do the sleeves a little bit longer, and I just kind of tucked them in. Depends on how I want to wear it, but I was able to spend some time with a really good friend of mine, and I finished it when I was sitting there with her, and she paid me the highest compliment and said those colors are so very me. And I have to agree, y'all. I love the way that these two different colors played out. I'm going to drop in some footage right here of me modeling this sweater. It is cropped style. It is loosely based on a pattern, but as you do, you make it your own. So this was a lot of fun for me to work on. I'm really glad it's done. And finally, it has started to get cool around here. So now that I have this extra sweater, I can just think cozy thoughts, and I'll have it for when I'm ready to really have those full cooler days. Right now, a lot of times it'll start really cool in the morning and then it'll warm up throughout the day. But this is a great layering piece for that. It's easy, kind of as easy as a cardigan might be to pop on and pop off. So I'm glad to have that done. And now with this big project done, I can free up myself for some other projects. To be honest, there was a project that I really wanted to start, and I was going to use some earth yarns that I'd picked up from my favorite local yarny thrift store. It was a beautiful fingering weight and a solid black. And so I started to unwind the hank and I started to cake it up, and I realized that every couple of feet the yarn just thinned out. Now, I don't think that this was necessarily a flaw from Earth Yarns. It might have been somewhere that the yarn was mishandled in shipping, or maybe it was even mishandled in the thrift store or the person that owned it before. I don't think it was moth damage. It seemed to almost be like a cut situation. Anyway, it was really bizarre. And never before have I had to completely toss out an entire hank of yarn, but every few feet, yeah, I couldn't get through 3 feet of yarn without another one of those thinning places. And so I had in mind an idea that I wanted to make with that particular yarn. And so when I realized that that yarn was not going to work, it kind of set me back for a minute. I was almost in this moment of like, where is my Crojo? What am I going to do next? And I felt a little bit discouraged. Now, thankfully, I had picked up that yarn at a thrift store, and so I hadn't paid full price for it. I know earth yarns can be pretty high end, and you can pay a pretty penny for it. And I suppose if I had gotten it from like a local yarn store, I would have called or made a request for an exchange or something like that. Anyway, it took me a minute to just think about what are some projects that I know I'm going to want to do, that I've wanted to do for a while, and can I just use what I have in my stash and go for it? So I did start two. One of them is Lenny Cat. I know that there is a lot of hubbub around Pika Pow, who has just released some newer patterns for hobby, some free patterns that you can find. But this one, Lenny Cat, has been there for about a year, and I printed it out a while ago, and I really wanted to work on him. So this is where I am so far. I have his little head and his body mostly done. I'm about to split for the legs. But here's a question. Do you guys like the feel of this kind of variegated sweater? Or should I maybe just do a solid color? I have this variegated that I thought would be good to blend in and kind of be a contrast to the more aqua color. I thought it might be interesting, but now that I have it worked up, I am not quite sure. This is an amigurumi that I'm going to make to have on hand as a baby gift. So I didn't do the eyes to it. I'm going to embroider those later on. I'll embroider the muzzle or all those other kinds of details. But yeah, do let me know. Do you think that this striping effect is working, or should I try something else? When I do go into the sleeves, there's a little bit of like a pale blue here, so it's going to pick up in the pale blue. So it'll kind of be an interesting looking shirt, I suppose. And I'm not sure if I'm going to do the hat topper or not. Maybe I will. Maybe that will make it all kind of feel unified together. I don't keep a broad variety of colors on hand. I do keep kind of a smaller stash, so I like to use what I have, and this is one thing that I thought would work pretty well. But now that I'm looking at, I'm not quite sure, so I'd love to have your opinion. For this one, I am using my size F Hero hook. This one has just become my favorite for amigurumi. I do have a new old stock vintage boy size F hook that I've used for amigurumi. In fact, I think I forgot to mention it in the last video, but my Lily the Lamb was made using that particular hook. But I really do think that this Hero one is ever so slightly better, so I'm enjoying working with it. So yeah, do let me know what you think. I hopefully will get a little bit more progress on Lenny this week because I really don't have that much on the hook, but I do have things that I'm excited about. The other project that I do have ongoing that I started this week is one that I'm going to have to frog, but I thought I would go ahead and show you guys my progress before I frogged it. And this is for a sweater vest. And I decided to kind of generally take inspiration from some patterns that are out there, but I decided to also do my own thing. And because I'm doing my own thing, it means I'm gonna have to frog, I'm making mistakes, I'm learning as I go. So here is what we have thus far, and I'm connected to a whole big basket of yarn. These are all different colors of Malabrigo Rios. So they are 4-weight yarns, 100% superwash merino, absolutely a joy to work with. And they're in these kind of different colors that aren't really super distinct, but I thought if I worked them together, they would have kind of a sunsetty watercolory effect. The problem that I'm having is as I've begun, I began at the bottom up, and I can tell already that this is too wide. So I'm gonna have to frog out all of this that I've done and go back to the waistband and make that smaller, and then I will go from there. Now, the stitch pattern that I'm using here is from the book Crochet Stitch Dictionary by Sarah Hazel, and it is the mirror stitch. I was looking specifically for the lark's foot stitch, and that is kind of close enough. But I'm thinking that since I'm going to have to redo this anyway, I might as well just do your standard lark's foot. I really like that pattern. I think it's a wonderful take on kind of a granny-ish design. And I've had in my mind to do a lark's foot sweater vest really for quite some time. So I figure now is as good a time as any. Let's use what I have in stash and just go for it. So part of that going for it means that I have a lot of different strands here because I am working in the round. I'm trying not to have a zillion ends to weave in, but you can kind of see how we're all hanging out. I'll do my best to keep organized, but this is the joy, right, of not having sweater quantities, but getting into more color work and having a lot of fun with that and trying and experimenting. And part of the idea of being slow crochet is that I'll start things and have to rework them. A lot of that slowness really does have to do with frogging and tweaking and doing things over until it's just right. In my family, we have a saying that there is always time to do it right, and the same applies in crochet. So regardless of how much I have to do or undo with that, I am really excited about this project. I think it's such a joy to work with these colors and a joy to work with this particular yarn. I know it's going to get a little bit challenging because I want to make it a V-neck sweater, so at some point it'll be a little bit interesting as I go, but we will cross that bridge when we come to it. For now, let's get a good solid beginning going before I worry about the rest of it. So happy to be working on that and excited to put some more work into it this week. There are a couple more projects that I do want to start. I feel like I've gotten my Crojo back. It's only gone for maybe a couple of days, but a big part of that really was not only having that Earth Yarns fiasco, but also I had been setting aside some funds for the Hobby Lobby dye lot clearance, which I only was able to get a little bit of. I wasn't able to take advantage of that. And I have visited local Hobby Lobbies recently, and they are so much in this mode of Christmas that I think I must have missed it. I didn't really call ahead as much as I used to. I wasn't as diligent this year, but that meant that I had some funds freed up. So on a whim, I was just thinking about my local Joann's, and I was thinking about what I would have got at Hobby Lobby, and I was wondering, because Joann's has such a variety, some of their yarns are high-end, some of their yarns are more affordable. So I just on a whim was looking at their app. I've never done a purchase online pickup in store before, but there were a couple of really good deals that I thought I wanted to take advantage of. And there was one particular yarn that I had been waiting to go on 40% off. And now was the time. Now, sadly, a lot of the colors were no longer available. That was on me. I slept on it. I could have gotten it the first time I saw it at 40% off, realizing what a great deal it was, but that's neither here nor there. Let me just show you what I got. So that yarn in particular, which I hope they will bring back with many more colors, is Eddie Bauer Wool Paca. And this is the color Carbon. Very beautiful solid black, again to replace the black that no longer exists in our world in a usable fashion. But this is a 3-weight yarn. It's 80% extra fine merino superwash and 20% alpaca. So these on the regular are $10 a ball. It's 277 yards or 3.5 ounces, 100 grams, 254 meters. Beautiful colors that they came in. And the Joanns that I went to only had this one black, so I went ahead and got it. For 40% off, it was still $6 a ball. But since I saw that they didn't have a lot of the colors left, I was thinking that they might not be getting more in. I'm not sure if this will be a repeat for them or not. I know that some of their more branded yarns, like the Juicy Couture yarn, I think those started to be clearanced out. But then people had such a wonderful reaction to those that I think they actually brought more colors in, and so that is more available. I'm hoping the same for this because it is so soft and so wonderful, and such a surprise to find at Joann's. Like this quality, this particular blend, superwash merino and alpaca for $6 a ball, that's pretty unheard of. So even at $10 a ball, that's a pretty good deal, especially at a DK weight. That's something that you would find at a local yarn shop for at least that, if not more. So if you're interested in it, do kind of check that out as a kind of a nicer fiber. Then again, if you have a wool allergy, it's not going to work for you. The hypoallergenic nature of alpaca is not going to overcome the superwash wool. But if you're interested in a higher end yarn that might be a little bit more accessible, at least if you have a Joann's near you, this would be a yarn to go for. At least that's what I did. Now, I will have to work with it and maybe I'll give a final opinion there, but in the meantime, it's a good staple. I need more blacks and more neutrals in my stash, especially as I'm working through my stash. So I'm really glad to have that. It'll probably end up in some kind of color work application, but yeah, really excited to have this and to be able to work with it, hopefully in the near future. Now, whereas that yarn does not have a specific project in mind, the other two actually do. So the first one that I got was totally a whim. This is not the way I shop, but I just love the colors and I love the weight of this Big Twist Supernova. This says that it's a 2-weight, a fine weight yarn, and it is machine washable. Don't iron, don't bleach, don't tumble dry, you dry it flat. But it is the colorway Whirlpool Galaxy, and it is 80% premium acrylic and 20% wool. And so it is a roving style, and it has my favorite colors of olivey green, limey green in there. And then it goes into these pale pinks and kind of pale mulberries, almost into a fuchsia, all on like a steel gray or maybe a medium gray, like a very blue gray background. So I think this one is just beautiful. There are 475 yards, 5.3 ounces, 435 meters or 150 grams on this. There is a shawl that I've made before, and I'm kind of in this mode of going to some shawls that I have made in the past and reworking them in lighter weight yarns. So that is what I want to do with this. So I already have the pattern picked out. I wanted to show it to you guys before I started working it up, but this will be a future work in progress, I'm sure. So this yarn retails normally at $10 or $9.99 per cake. I got it for $4.99, so I thought that was a pretty good deal. I think it was specifically like a doorbuster deal, so I couldn't use any other discounts on it, but very glad to have that. At first I thought I had ordered 2 of them, but then I saw that I actually did just get the one. But then again, I think having the one for the shawl pattern I want to do, it's going to be more than fine. So happy to get started with that. The other yarn that I got 2 hanks of it, Interestingly, everything I got was regular price $9.99. The Supernova was down to $4.99. The others were all $5.99. And this time, what I chose was K&C hand dyed, 75% superwash merino and 25% polyamide. I got 2 of them. And I have been watching Joanns Hanks like this for a bit. I know some people really love them. I've not always been excited about the colors, but I was thinking about a shawl that I'd seen, thinking about this concept that actually my friend, Miss Janna-Kay, had introduced to me. She'll be linked below. But the idea of doing a planned pooling, not so much where you create like an argyle stripe using like the moss stitch, but a planned pooling where whenever you come to the color, you end up doing like a bobble stitch. And so I was thinking of making a shawl using the gray with these great beautiful pops of neon pink, neon purple, and neon blue. So yes, these are the colors Cotton Candy Splash. So each one of these comes with 433 yards. It's 3.5 ounces, 100 grams, or 396 meters. So it is a one weight. But I thought it would be really fun to see how I could do a shawl with kind of a basic grid, like your basic netting where it's like double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet. And every time I would come to one of these colors, I would do a bobble stitch. So that's the plan. The question right now is what shape of shawl I want to find to do that, because I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. So should I do like a wide obtuse triangle shawl? Should I do a shawl that has maybe more of a trapezoid shape? I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do yet, but I know that I want to try that idea of planned pooling with these 2. And I think even at a fingering weight, it's going to be lacy, it's going to be beautiful, and it'll be a lot of fun. So very glad to get those. These again were these were $5.99 a piece. And again, with that particular kind of hand-dyed feel and that the fact that it's superwash merino, you know, I am glad to see that Joann's is getting some of these higher end fibers in their store. It makes it a lot more fun to peruse. You know, you see a variety, not just your polyesters and acrylics, but you have all kinds of different price points and all kinds of different things that you can imagine with these different yarns. So excited to have new things on the hook and new yarns to play with, and also to kind of restock my stash a little bit. Things are changing a little bit in this space here. You can't see on my other shelves, but some of my bins are starting to empty out. So it is fun that I get to work through projects and then add a few little pieces here and there. So I'll have other projects to start in the near future. Y'all, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. If you're new around here, I'm here every week. I try to be pretty consistent with my uploads, and I really appreciate that you're here. Those of you who have liked and shared and commented and subscribed, done all those kind of algorithm happy things, I really do appreciate you. Love hanging out with y'all in the comments. It is really an honor to be part of your life and to be able to share my yarny joy, my crochet joy with you. And if for whatever reason I'm not your cup of tea, thank you so much for listening this long. I really do appreciate you, and I do hope I'll see you again soon. Bye.